and welcome to the Mariners postgame show. Once again, Rooftop Mariner, Jay Trident podcast, and the Mariners won the game 8-4, and it felt like a one-run game just because of that final inning. And I'm just looking at the Root Sports highlights, and it's showing that I saw that Gino Suarez hit a home run, and because he hit a home run, I just have to do this.
All right, guys, goodbyes only. Don't forget it.
Stop it. Thank you.
Totally a well-deserved thing. And from what I saw, the Mariners were trailing. And you know what, Mr. Trident, you're just going to take the lead on this because I was buried in work. And the old saying, when a content creator starts, don't quit your day job.
I'm there too. I'm just fortunate to have Mondays off. But yeah, kind of a sluggish start for the Mariners. The Nationals led off with a home run in the game. Lane Thomas solo home run. Mariners responded with a leadoff home run of their own. J.P. Crawford a solo home run. And then the Nationals responded again. Dominic Smith, they solo home run to go up 2-1. They scored one more in the third. It was a little bit more of a cheaper run as Abrams reached on an error and got to second. Ball was thrown away. Garcia singled him in, made it 3-1. The Mariners responded with 2 in the fourth. I believe it was on Gino homered, and then it was an RBI single from Julio to make it 3-3. At that point, the Mariners didn't look back. They scored 3 more in the fifth on a Geno sac fly, a Mike Ford RBI single, and then a ringing double that just missed a home run from Colton Wong. Again, the Mariners tacked on 2 more in the eighth. It got a little dicey in the ninth. Taylor Saucedo came in to try and close out a 5-run lead. Ended up getting up a run and loaded up the bases. Paul Sewald came in. Got a little bit of a break on a strike 3 call that was a little outside, but when the Mariners lose due to some ump calls, I usually say, listen, you got to play better. I would say the same to the Nationals. They just didn't play good enough. And Luis Castillo settled in. A little bit of a rocky start for him, I thought, in the first 3 innings or so. He was not super sharp, but he ended up settling down and gave the team 7 solid innings and got his first win in a while.
Yeah, because now he was 4-6 on that statistic, and luckily now he's 5-6. ERA goes down just a little bit, and let's take a look at his stats on how he did today as a pitcher. Luis Castillo, supposedly our ace, he had 7 strikeouts, gave up 2 home runs, 1 walk. So other than the 2 home runs, he did pitch very well. A little bit more of a Luis Castillo that we were looking for. Other than those 2 home runs, that did make it very concerning. And other stat lines of Andres Munoz pitching very well. Saucedo, although he had 2 strikeouts, but he did allow the bases loaded, especially that last hitter that he was going up against did not go well at all because he was trying to fool the guy like 4 different times. Like pretty much all of them, he was trying to pitch outside to fool him. Did not work out. And then Paul Sewald, my fantasy man, gets the save on that strikeout. So good for him on that. And hopefully the Mariners, they can go forward. Let's go for the sweep because considering the last 2 series on that road trip, we cannot afford just 2 out of 3s. Like we need to make up for all of those losses and get that confidence going against the mighty Tampa Bay Rays.
Well, and this team's got to start stringing wins together. Is a series win a bad thing? No, if they could win every series the rest of the way and go 2-3, cool, we'll take it. But that's not going to happen, obviously. They've got to start stringing some wins together. We were hoping that maybe that New York-Baltimore couple wins there was the start of it, and then kind of back to the Mariners on Saturday and Sunday. So hopefully this is now maybe the start of something here. The Nationals pitching is not good. They don't hit a lot of home runs. I didn't realize they actually have the lowest strikeout rate in baseball. They have the fewest strikeouts. I did not know that. William Cook in my stream let me know. And by the way, anybody new here is watching on my channel or Rooftops, if you're new to either one of our channels, hit that sub button, hit the like button on the stream as well.
Oh, and I saw the highlight that Luis Castillo had a nice catch that went right to his mitt. So great reflexes. I just saw that highlight. And also worth noting, the 14-game winning streak started at game 80. As much as I love that 14-game winning streak, I just don't see it happening because it's something that happens according to the Mariners every 20 years. And the crazy thing is, those 2 streaks happened for them when they made the playoffs. And it's crazy that it had to take another gigantic winning streak to even make that happen. Now that the best was Angels in the series against Rockies, outscored them 32-12. but lost the series 2-1. So we'll take that. And then looks like we got Brian Wu coming onto the mound tomorrow. So as dominant as he has been since the Texas series, I would have my confidence on him. But of course, it's the Seattle Mariners, so you've got to, just because he's pitching doesn't guarantee wins. So you got to step up, especially for a guy named Irvin, 1-4 with a 4.71 ERA. So you've got to take advantage of that. So we'll have to see how he does. But Brian Woo's been pitching fantastic. But hopefully this time the Mariners will still win again. And I also, let's give Brian Wu, because I don't even know if he had his first winning decision at home. It was only on the road, I believe.
Mm-hmm. He just has the one win at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to see how that goes, and not really clear what the match lineups are. But thankfully, J.P. Crawford is back, because when he was gone, people don't realize how big of an impact he was. Now, although the Mariners won their 2 games, it was still showing that even though the Mariners won 2 games without J.P. Crawford, Jared Kelenic in the leadoff spot, and they were 2-0. Sure, you can say that if you want to. That's a kind of lineup that just wouldn't have been sustainable for the rest of the season. So thankfully, J.P. Crawford is back, and hopefully Mariners can get in their winning ways. Looks like the Rangers lost again, so this is an opportunity for the Mariners this week to pick up some wins, make up the losses, and take that momentum into the Rays, because that is what it's all about. And then let's look at the 28th on what's going on, which is going to be an afternoon game. So obviously, we're not going to be able to cover that game at all. But Logan Gilbert against Corbin. So, like, with that kind of matchup, that's why I'm saying anything less than a sweep would be just a massive disappointment. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, too, is even if the Mariners win their first 2 games, I still want to finish with a sweep, because you never want to finish a series losing the 3rd game, even winning the first 2, especially when you have one of the best teams in baseball going up against you, because that one loss can shake that kind of confidence.
Yep. Yeah, big time. And this team just has to string some wins together. This is a chance to do it. It's not a very good baseball team in the Nationals. They've been a little feisty, that they've been scrappy, but they're not very good. So you got to find a way here to listen. This team's got to get some sweeps eventually. They put themselves in a position, unfortunately, where they're not 6-7 games over. They can't just say, "Hey, win a series, keep it going." They need to start gaining ground on teams, and the only way to do that is to string some wins together. I don't think they need to have a 14-game winning streak, but they could use a 6-7, and then you win 4 to 5.
6 and 7s, win 2 of 3 against good teams, sweep the bad ones. And let's take a look at the standings really quick, because I think we pretty much really covered the game already. It's not like we really had to cover a lot, really. But here is where the Mariners are at. They are still 4 games back from the wild card, 8.5 from the division, especially when you have the Rangers losing 3 in a row. I know this sounds extremely delusional, but I still think the Mariners still have the talent to actually win the division, because don't forget, it's still another half to go. And if the Mariners can get their winning ways going, take advantage of the struggles from teams once in a while, they can easily win the division. Like, I know people are like, well, we got to win the wild card. But hey, remember the great Jay Buhner said in 95, people asked him, should we go for the wild card? Buhner was like, no way. We're too good for that. And look what happened. Now, luck was there, but you just have to have a winning mindset. Like, I don't want the mindset of just scraping through a wild card. Like, when the Mariners made the playoffs last year, the bar was here. Now I feel the bar is up here. And I've actually talked to people. When I was at work, I talked to customers, not the Mariners, especially the ones that are wearing their hat. They were asking me, like, hey, what do you think of, like, the team? Like, why do you think they're bad? And I just said Scott Service. And at least a couple of them said, like, yeah, he's kind of that laid back guy. So I think some of that's getting a little bit exposed. I don't know if it'll ever get to the mainstream, but people are noticing that his weaknesses are getting a little bit exposed, especially when you finally took the team to the playoffs. You are getting a lot more attention, whether you do good or bad.
Well, that's like you said, it's about taking that next step. Last year was amazing. It was a lot of fun. And I even said it, in my kind of one video that blew up after the Astros series, like, that was a lot of fun. That's, even though the way it ended stunk, But now you got to take that next step. You know, next, I even said next year losing in the divisional series like this will not be acceptable. You know what I mean? Like the Seahawks did in 2012 when they lost that game to Atlanta. It stung, but it's like, okay, this is a young team. You take the next step. And they did. They won the Super Bowl. Had that 2013 team not won a Super Bowl, that would not have been acceptable. That team was good enough to do it. And yeah, I still think you still play the Rangers 6 times. So, you know, if you can just nip away, get it down to 7, get it down to 6. I know, no duh, obviously, but, you know, just chip away at that. Listen, Texas is a really good team. I think they're overperforming a little bit. They've got their whole lineup with an OPS of like 815. They're getting Cy Young performances from Nathan Eovaldi, guys that are more middle rotation people. So we'll see. I saw some in the comments mention that Eric Judge might be out for the year. Did that just come out today? Because that would be huge in terms of that wild
card at least. Yeah. But not that we want to pray, not that we want to hope that he's hurt, because you never want to do that. But
for sure.
In a very objective standpoint, there is thing called opportunity that must be taken advantage of. And congratulations to Trident. You just keep getting those subs. If only there was a way we could trade watch hours. I'll trade you my watch hours for the subs.
Let's combine.
That'd be great.
One giant.
Let's put them all together. I don't know. The Aaron Judge, there's not much of news. I guess they're just saying it's rumors, so definitely something to keep an eye on. But we'll have to see we'll just have to see what happens. But I think that's pretty much all we really got. Like we already know what we're looking forward to. We know what's to expect. Mariners should be taking advantage of the lackluster pitching that the Nationals do have. And at least the Mariners are off the pressure of not suffering a sweep, because that was a little bit going on social media that the Nationals haven't swept in a long time. And imagine if the Mariners were the butt of all that.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, great, we're getting swept. Because the Mariners are always like, when you see stuff like that, you go, like, I mean, Benintendi hitting the home run against them, stuff like that. We're like, of course it's the Mariners. So thank you, Ready, Set, Action Commentaries. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much.
For sure. And also give his channel a follow too, as well, as he covers movies as well. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Josh says, yeah, Judge is out with a torn ligament in his foot. That does not sound good at all. So more updates to come on that. So keep your eyes on the Twitter, of course, and see what happens. But summarizing, Mariners came back. Good offense was great. But Gino Suarez finally, and I mean finally, hits a home run.
All right, guys, goodbyes only. Don't forget it.
Stop it. Thank you.
Yep. So, but then the bullpen, that is very concerning, because I have seen it where the bullpen always seems to make things a little bit dramatic, just like when Sewald did blow the save against Chicago. So I think those are things to be paid attention to. But once again, the paper says the Mariners bullpen only gave up 2 runs, but of course, no one pays attention when they gave up those runs. So that's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's little things like, and that's why bullpen ERA is not the best thing, because you're giving up a lot of, inherited runners too. That makes an issue. That's kind of been like Matt Brash. The ERA has gone down. I think his ERA is down to like 3.5, 3.6 or something like that. Don't quote me on that. But he's still giving up those inherited runners. So it's not always about the bullpen ERA, because the goal is to come in and, when you got guys on, to keep those guys on base. Now, sometimes it happens. Like, no one's perfect. But, yeah, I think the bullpen, I think it's solid. Like, I don't think the bullpen is bad. But I do think, and getting Munoz back is gigantic. Because
it is huge.
Bails out. And I've been a Scott Service defender, but Munoz has bailed Scott out a lot of some decisions and stuff. But even with Munoz, there's still some question marks. Like Topa hasn't been very good the last few times out. We've seen him kind of struggle.
They've been putting Topa in he's also that other low-key guy of like not using him in the very high leverage situations. Like he's one of those guys that he's just there to just do the mop job, but I can't really trust him in an extra inning situation.
Like on Saturday, he's the one that gave the home run to. He gets Adley Rushman out, and then gives the home run to Ryan McKenna. So he's been struggling. Spire's been solid, but not as dominant. We've seen Saucedo kind of be up and down. Brash, we know Brash has his stuff, but he's allowed those inherited runners to score a lot. And then who else am I missing? Adcock's been nice, but not proven. Sure as heck ain't giving Chris Flexen high leverage innings.
Yeah.
So I agree. I don't think it's a bad bullpen by any means. Like Washington's a bad bullpen, but there's definitely
there's room for improvement for the Mariners bullpen. And like I know I said I'm kicking a dead horse, and I even have my buddy Willing criticizing me, which I'm okay with. I love the comment count, so keep them coming. But there was room for improvement with the bullpen, even last year when they were just absolutely amazing statistically. And I thought they should have added someone to add to the personnel, like an actual name on the bullpen, but they didn't really do that because they thought the way they got Seawald for cheap, the way they got Graveman for cheap, they thought they could do it again with Gott. But when you're in an absolute must-win situation where you are expected to compete for the World Series, sometimes you just got to put some money into the team. And it's not like we're not asking like throughout the offseason last season or throughout the offseason, I wasn't even asking them to throw money at Bogarts, the Turners, the Yoshidas, the Nimos. I was asking to spend a little bit of money on like actual veteran bullpen pitchers rather than going cheap. Now, if you're going rebuilding and you're trying to roll the dice on those young players, then yeah, sure, absolutely. But when you're in a winning situation, sign these players next time to maybe like a 2-3 year contract-ish, not too much money, but also not too little. And at least if it fails within those 2 to 3 years, at least they'll be off the books and you will still have the money freed up to get the likes of Cal Raleigh locked up, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, with all this abundance of talent, and they have club control for many years. There is more than enough reasons to spend a little bit money now and then worry about the locking up later.
Yep. And they should be getting Trevor Gott back soon. Now, I don't think that's necessarily groundbreaking. This team is saved, but he's probably a little better than some of the guys they've got. So that should help a little bit. But yeah, I'm with you. And I think the bullpen arm is something they need to look. If they're in buyer's mode, I would not be against going out and getting a reliever to add or starting pitcher even, because you've got these young guys logging a lot of innings. And I don't know what the status is for Marco, and Marco's not exactly, he's a number 5. You know what I mean?
And maybe you can put the Brian Woos in the bullpen. Maybe not Bryce Miller just because he's had a great start, but I will say I'm not opposed to it just because he's been a little bit streaky. And if you get like a more proven starter, you can like expand their roles and not burn out their arms too much. Mm-hmm. And definitely get someone from the bullpen, because I think like my roadmap on this is get someone in the bullpen, just get anyone in pitching, because getting one impact pitcher can do a lot of things. And for the hitting, if Mike Ford doesn't work out, because he does remind me of 2019 Jay Bruce, where all he did was strike out or just hit home runs. If he's not going to be the answer, which I don't expect it to be, find someone that can fill in that role for the designated hitter spot. And it's not like you have to give up too much for one anyway, for the most part. So they're going to have to – I think those are the big 3. Another starting pitcher, bullpen, and just anyone to fill a DH spot. I don't think they have to do as much as they did last year, but at least get busy. Because the other reason why you want to make trades at the trade deadline is that way you prevent others from making those kind of moves. Because the last thing you want is just standing pat, but watching like Texas make a move, Houston make a move, even the Angels make a move, which they already did with Colorado, because they've made those mistakes back in 2002 and 2003 where they sat on the trade deadline but watched other teams within their division and competition make key trades, which knocked them out of the playoffs. And if the Mariners do that again, don't expect them to make the playoffs at all.
Yeah, and, with the DH position, I think what they could use Ford, actually, nice game today, had a couple hits, a couple singles and RBI, so that was good to see. I think Mike Ford is a decent option against right-handed pitching. I wouldn't necessarily give him a full-time job. I think he's a good guy off the bench for a pinch hitting spot because he's got a good eye. He's got some pop. So it's like one of those guys like, hey, you can always run into one when you're trying to get a, tie game late in the innings. I think, someone to upgrade over AJ Pollock would be huge. Kind of that.
Oh, yeah. I was even a fan of that move from the very beginning anyway.
Yeah, and they need that, right now, like truthfully, right now against lefties, Tom Murphy should probably be the DH. So I think looking for someone to upgrade there, that right-handed hitting outfield spot. I'm with you, kind of someone that can play, be the DH full time. And then you have Mike Ford on the bench as a pinch hitter. So if you've got a spot where there's a righty, you don't want Caballero batting necessarily, you can have Mike Ford bat, stuff like that. So it just lengthens the team a lot. And that's kind of what they need is just a little more length to that lineup, in my opinion. So, and some guys playing better. The good news too for the Mariners is, as much as some of the offense underperforming has been frustrating, and they've been better the last week or so, that's another key for this team. Like if Julio can get on a hot streak, Cal can get on a hot streak, Gino can find the home run stroke, that's going to be huge for this team as well. So you make an addition or two, those guys start playing better. And, I'm with you. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility this team could get hot and win the division. It's not my prediction right now, but I don't think
It's not that crazy of idea at all. And it really shouldn't be.
No, and Houston's scuffling. Like, look at Houston's lineup yesterday. Now, I know they're without Jordan, so I'm not trying to be like anything, but that lineup didn't look
It's
that
very
good.
empty. Like, if you don't have the Jordan or the Altuve, you are going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
I will say that.
So this is a chance to take advantage of that. Jordan for a starter, Josh. I'll take Jordan. You can have anybody. I'll take Jordan from you.
And the other thing, too, to be positive about it is considering the ridiculous amount of injuries the Mariners have had, they are still hanging on. Like the season's still not over. It's still ongoing, still very much in contention. So considering what they've been going through, they've been doing not terrible. I will say that. Not great, but at least afloat, where if you can get something going, then making the playoffs should not be an issue at all. But hopefully, with all those adjustments to make and Scott Service putting a little bit of toughness in him, maybe go the little boomer route, which I don't think he'll ever do, of course, that could help fix the team. But I think that's all we've got. So announcements I want to make is going forward, Jay Triton and I, we've been talking about it, that we are heavily looking into doing Mariners games every Friday night, with the exception of July 21st. So that is something to definitely look forward to. And also, I'm going to do my best to keep improving the experience, because I know some of you may like the whole good vibes only stuff, some of my bells and whistles, and I'm going to start investing into like building up the presentation of it to make it much more intriguing. I would like to say I've had some people at least tell me like they do like what we do. And the goal of this channel is to be the great alternative in case, because radio is hard to come by. I mean, it's not hard to come by, but it's not as accessible as it used to be. Yeah. Now that everything's going on the subscription, or you have to have your radio in your car, you basically have to be in your car, but we want the convenience of providing free content, free play-by-play, just through your YouTube on the hand of your phone, and with our fan perspective rather than the mainstream perspective. And it's something that no one else has done. No offense to the other Mariner YouTubers. They have their reasons of how they do their thing, but as of now, we are the ones doing the live coverage of these games. So that's something we definitely want to do to help build our channel going forward.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're definitely, Friday night's going to be kind of our night. Like no matter what, I think we'll always have that Friday, like I said, outside the 21st. And I'm sure there might be a day when something pops up, but the plan is every Friday night. We'll have some in there too. It's not just going to be Fridays, but Friday night's going to be like it's coming Friday night. And yeah, like Rooftop said, free to listen in, good conversation. I think we respond to 99% of the comments during the live stream. So we get to pretty much everything in there for the most part. So, and like Rooftop said, it's not from the mainstream perspective. You're getting Mariners content, and also you're not getting the Root Sports. I like some of the guys on Root.
Mike Blowers, great guy. Aaron Goldsmith, solid guy. Rick Riz on the radio, solid, but everyone else kind of cringe.
But they're paid by the Mariners. So at the end of the day, they can be critical, but they have to kind of keep it PG critical. We can get a little bit more tell it like it is sometimes. So it
Yeah,
wouldn't be
like one day when I see the camera pointing to Scott Service pulling out a starter, you'll see me having a meltdown, and I will cut that video and put it on YouTube just for the laughs.
He
Because
did let Luis go 7 today. I was surprised. It was kind of, we were talking about the stream because Luis is at like 92, 93. And I wasn't sure. He did let Luis go out there for the 7th. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely we'll see. Well, that is it for the post-game show. I definitely appreciate all of you being flexible to move from one platform to the other. And we will keep updating on when we'll be back, if we are ever back for the next few days, at least until Friday. But Friday, definitely expect us to be there for the Rays game, which will be a huge game. But until then, enjoy this victory tonight. And hopefully the Mariners can get a sweep to get ready for Tampa. Now, it looks like everyone's pretty much on the way out. Sorry I couldn't get to your comments because I know they're about the Oakland stuff, but we were just not in the mood to talk about Oakland at this time. And personally, I got some family things to deal with at the end of the show anyway. But once again, I definitely appreciate you guys being part of the show. Please hit that subscribe button. It means the world to us. It really does, just because we really want to grow this channel and do this long term. And yes, also thank you to Jay Trident Podcast and everyone else. And once again, have a great night. Go Mariners, and bad vibes only.